Well, welcome to the Synchronicity Show with your host, Donovan Gall, who can't even work out how to make a microphone work for episode 1.
Oh
my God. This is
It's all
just the
good.
way of it. I know. I used to like do the sound for whole bands and run V-drum kits and do all the stuff. But just to get a simple live stream going, no, you wouldn't believe it. Anyway. So welcome everyone to the Synchronicity Show, episode 1. So excited to have you with us. So this is going to be interesting. This is not what I thought episode 1 was going to be about, but this is very, very timely because there's an unfolding taking place. And the two souls you see next to me here are very much a part of a bit of a synchronistic wave that is happening where we're sharing information and we're unlocking things. And this all started when I had a wave of synchronicity. So those of you that know what we've done before, we had a chat with Dale Holmes, with Nikki here and Dane. And this is the follow-on from that chat. And what had actually happened was I was sharing information with Dale. Dale was sharing information with me. Nikki was sharing information with Dale. And then Dane comes into the picture. He sees a video about the Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne, Australia, that Dale and Nikki had done. And then Dane started looking. And when Dane starts looking, Dane starts finding. Okay. And it's unlocking a whole lot of amazing wisdom and synchronicity. Now, at the time when Dane made his video, he starts describing all these synchronicities related personally to my journey, right? And this is how synchronicity as a concept, and I'd like to think that as we go along in the Synchronicity Show, I think I'm going to prove that it's actually a natural law.
Yeah.
Because what it's doing is it's a force of the universe that is guiding us to something that we need in our journeys. Yeah. So that's going to be the interesting journey we're going to go on over the however many episodes of the Synchronicity Show we have. And under natural law principles, right, we get to the point where, okay, so people have synchronicities, they get numbers, they have funny things happen that all seem really connected, and sometimes it seems really woo-woo, really bizarre, and we can look for patterns, right? But what we want to be doing is we want to be saying, but is it useful, right? So if I'm having a wave of synchronicity like I had with all of this Shrine of Remembrance information and the connection between Dale, Nikki, and Dane, I sit back and I say, well, is it useful? And my answer to that is, yes, it is useful, because what has it done? It connected me with these souls. So that's useful, because then what happens is you develop relationships, and these souls that come into your life and into your presence, they have a piece of the puzzle you need, and then you might feedback as a feedback loop information that they need, and then we all go on this journey of discovery together. So what actually happened was Dane and Nikki did their video on the Shrine of Remembrance and delving into the history and the fact that it's on these ley line points, and they're like, there's something more to this building, and we'll get into that. And then what happened was, at the moment that I came across this information, there was a mainstream media report about a woman in Sydney that gave birth on the edge of a river. I don't know if it was the Parramatta River, but from memory, I think it was. And the police were after this woman, and they were really obsessed with, where's this woman gone? She disappeared, but she left a placenta and an umbilical cord. And the New South Wales police were like hell-bent on finding this woman. So I hear that story. Then I see Dane's video talking about the Shrine of Remembrance being the embryo, and then the umbilical cord drawing a line from the Shrine of Remembrance to Montague Island. And I'll let Dane explain that, so that we can catch up on where we're up to with all this before we start talking about the rest of the unfolding. And then he took that line from Montague Island to Galaga, Mount Dromedary, okay, which creates a line straight to Parliament House in Canberra. And the reason it all related to me was he's talking about Maruya, where I'd been holidaying for 4 years with my wife, Deb. He's talking about a church in Maruya, which when I was holidaying there, I stopped and I was just absolutely mesmerized with this church. and couldn't move and was just like, there's something about this church. And then the line to Parliament House, I did my apprenticeship in horticulture at Parliament House. I spent 9.5 years in the gardens there, and that's how I became a qualified horticulturist. And then we were talking about how this all related to the War Memorial here in Canberra and all the rest of it. So without going on too much more, what also happened was right at the time all these videos from Dane and the information that Nikki and Dale had put out about the Shrine of Remembrance and the lady with the umbilical cord and the placenta and all these things relating, when this was happening, I was sending a message to Dane, reaching out to Dane, and I'm like, it was only until afterwards I realized what was I doing. At that moment, I had just ordered some seeds from the Diggers Club because I like to grow my organic seeds. And while this was all happening and I was listening to Dane's video, I realized I was planting Flanders poppies. And I'm just like, all right, I've got to talk to this guy. Something's happening here, and I'm being guided to connect. So that's how I got talking to Nikki, got talking to Dane through Dale Holmes. So, guys, firstly, tell everyone who you are, and then maybe we'll start with you, Nikki, and just sort of give us a sense of where we were with the first Shrine videos and like where we're headed and where we're going to now and how that relates with Dane and brings Dane into the picture.
Righto. Well, I think it's been, it must be about 18 months at least now that it was returning after a Tatar in Australia event that I'd been into Lismore, the last Lismore one. I think it might have been about April or March last year. And it was this call from Cindy to go and find something in nature that you haven't been connected to. So I thought, what's around me? I've got the ocean, I've got the trees, I've got, the air, all that sort of thing. Went and found the granite that's surrounding me. And that's like this whole narrative, everything that I found today has literally been led from finding a piece of granite and then researching some general stuff on granite to find out what's so significant about it. Having come from working in the construction industry for over 20 years, my thoughts around granite was just fireplaces and bench tops and things like that, not buildings other than a pyramid like Giza, but never really looked into how significant all monuments that are made out of granite, how significant their history is, or the narrative around them at least. So that's where this literally all started, was just finding a broken piece of granite, thinking this has got something to say, started researching granite. And you literally sent me a message last night about how granite is known to hold the water, the memory of water, especially granite that sits in water's edges and quarries and things like that, or by the ocean, which is where I got this piece from. And it all started from that. And that's where I found that the shrine in Melbourne the whole thing's been constructed out of granite. Now, if I was ever looking at that, I would have assumed just by looking at the building it was a sandstone building, because as you know, granite is not a common construction material. Even if how old it actually is, it'd be sandstone, it'd be bluestone, or it'd be red brick. So choosing granite and the labour to get the granite out to build a war memorial, it's like you've gone to a very extreme engineering, like how you have to get it out, how you build the blocks, all this sort of stuff for a war memorial. And when you research this building, people didn't even want it. They didn't have the money for it. It was around the wartime, so people were broke. There was a recession, and the extravagance of money that they spent on doing this. And you thought there's got to be something way more to it than it being for respecting the diggers, because they didn't want it. None of them wanted it. They were forced to build it. They were forced labour after they returned from the war. They were forced to then go into constructing this gigantic building. So, that's where it all started. It all started seemingly pretty just me looking at it and then going, why are there winged goddesses on this building? And where is the reference to any Anzacs? Like there's not one depiction on the actual exterior of the building at all that has any reference to the war. Like there's not one digger. There's not anything about the army or nothing. It's all about winged goddesses and horses and cherubs and torsos and, a headless torso sitting on this construction. And you're just thinking, and all these very Roman and Grecian and Egyptian references. So that's where it just started from there. And where we are at the moment, well, I think this video is probably going to get into that, because this last week, as you know, has gotten quite strange with things that are coming up. And I was just listening to Jason Brashear's, so the latest video he's done on the 2012 Olympic opening ceremony. Fascinating. But what he's actually made highlight in that video, which I've never heard him say on any other of all of his videos I've listened to, he talked about the bell, and the bell in history is synonymous with being to represent the resets. So we know that this giant bell, well, we've been told, and there's a lot of research and finding that there's a giant bell that's been put underground under the shrine. And you can see that this building's got a lot of reference to Apollo and the sun and, sort of sun god worship. And the fact that they've put a bell in there underground out of public access, and they don't really talk about it. When he mentioned today that the bell has a lot to do with the resets to represent that. But wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And also the timing of us talking through this information. And at 3:30 this morning, it was the opening ceremony of the Olympics, right? And we had the horsemen in there, right? And they did a depiction of the First Supper with drag queens and a child, right? And a beheaded Marie Antoinette, right? I mean, if anyone doesn't understand, we're living through times of, let's say, prophecy playing out, right? Like Jason Brashear's work, demystifying prophecy, right? We're starting to actually work out what is actually bloody well going on this planet right now, right? And what's so interesting is the timing that we've all come together as souls to bring all these pieces back together, to the point where we're now looking at the shrine and the ley lines. And we've got Rachel Vaughan's work, right, who's out there teaching people to work with the ley lines again. So we can unhijack them and take them back, which are like the energy veins of the planet, through these granite lines and through the water and all the rest, which Dane, I know you'll expand on, but the timing is just so interesting, isn't it? And again, another synchronicity, just to relate back to why I felt I had to connect with you guys. After you put out that information about like the design of the building, the Shrine of Remembrance, I then started Googling that building, and what's the name of the place in Italy that it's a copy of the same building?
The Parthenon?
No.
No.
I'll try and remember the name. But anyway, that's the exact same design as the shrine in Melbourne, is also in Washington, D.C., and it happens to be the headquarters of Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. Okay, and in the headquarters there in Washington, D.C., which is the exact same design as the shrine, all the same motifs, everything, in that building, underneath that building, they hold the greatest collection of works of Robbie Burns. Now, Robbie Burns is one of the founding members of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. And it just so happens that I had my family genealogy was done by my uncles, and I've been given the knowledge, and we now know that we are literally a direct bloodline descendant of Robbie Burns. And that's another synchronicity that relates again back to the shrine. So I might bring you in here, Dane. How's your internet going? All right?
Yeah, not too bad. I fell out there for a second, but that's all right.
Yeah, cool. So again, just quickly, like, tell everyone where you are, who you are, and then let's just flow on from there.
Well, I'm in Congo, which in the Bantu language means mountain, I found out, which is an African language. We know the Congo in Africa. But no one knows here in Australia or even around the local area why Congo is called Congo. There was a young girl here that did a university course, and she got to a certain place. She was trying to find out more about Congo, and she got to like a blockage wall in her studies online somewhere, and she went to a university lecturer and asked, why can I get past this? And they said, oh, that's looks like she'd never seen it before, the lecturer, and said, look, I'm not sure. It looks like it's sort of only for those with, the authority to look at that sort of stuff. So I don't know what went on here. It might have been a massacre. It might have been, who knows what went on, but you can't actually find out. But it turns out there's lots of stuff to do with, it was with a K in Africa, and then it changed later on with the Christians coming in and turn it to a C, but it's actually Portuguese. So yeah, there's a lot to say about Congo, but that's where I am. And as far as who I am, still working that out. That's still ongoing, that mystery.
Yeah, same here, bro.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting? So what we're uncovering when we're looking at the Earth and we're looking at ley lines, and we've talked a lot about this with Dale in the past, is that we're now looking at the Earth as a fractal of the constellations, and then the Earth as a fractal, like we are a fractal of the Earth, and that everything within us we see on the Earth, and then everything on the Earth we see out there in the galaxy and then the cosmos. You know, and a lot of this looking at the shrine actually shows a lot of that kind of information playing out. So do you want to start, Dane, and just explain where we're up to with because Nikki's talking about bells, we're talking about water, we're talking about granite, and then we're also talking about copper, the fire element. So do you want to let people have the next flow on of the information that you guys are discovering about the shrine?
Yeah, no worries. Well, I wasn't prepared for today, which doesn't matter. I never need to be. I like to kind of riff on stuff. And that's kind of my way of doing even music. And back in the day, it's always been jamming, you know, just kind of a improvisational jamming. So this will probably suit me all right. A different type of creativity, but here we go. So as you were talking there as well, I was just writing down. You'll probably see me writing a fair bit today doing this. But you mentioned a fair bit of stuff, and I've written already a whole page of stuff. But just right near the end there, you mentioned Robbie Burns, and that's kind of blew me away when you said that, because when I was 6 or 7, I went to Sanctuary Point. Now that's a funny place, Sanctuary, and the Sanctuary Point near Jervis Bay, which is of course part of Canberra. Okay, so it's in New South Wales, but it's an isolated place, you know, with a gigantic harbour, and that's where the naval military base is. So Canberra, of course, being the capital, has a military base associated with it, and all the people in the Jervis Bay actually have ACT plates.
Yep, you good? Oh, it's dropped out.
Oh,
I think it's
you
frozen.
guys might have dropped
Oh,
out.
yeah, there you are.
Yep, you're
There you
back.
are.
It's probably my end.
You good? We can hear you. No, he can't hear us by the sounds of it. Going to move.
You back,
Oh,
bro?
you guys back?
Yep.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, okay. I'll just keep going. You might have to do a bit of editing. Sorry, brother. Yeah, so when you mentioned Robbie Burns, I went to Sanctuary Point. Oh, that's what I was saying about the Jervis Bay is associated and connected. It's ACT. Basically, it's the ACT in Jervis Bay. So Robbie Burns, I took a book to, oh God, it's kind of done it again. Can you hear me?
No, you're good. Yep.
Okay, cool. So anyway, my father had a book, and it was the most special book in the universe to him. And I sneakily stole it and took it to school for show and tell. And it was a book of Robbie Burns poetry, and it was a little tartan book. Never forget it. I found it online recently, and I'm going to buy it for the old man and give it back. It was almost like from there, it was like a rift between me and my father. He never forgave me for this. It was very, very special to him. So I lost it somehow at school that day. So yeah, Robbie Burns, I didn't know that about. He was one of the guys that started the Scottish Rite Freemasonry. That's quite amazing. That's new to me, but it totally makes sense. Now, for me, where it started was I was watching Bashir's last year, and I was around when he first started his channel. So it was yeah, like he was only had 1,000 subscribers. And I was right into the chronology and right into, you know, he had all these ancient books and really old books about the 138 and different things happening over the different periods of time. I think the other ones, there's 138 and other ones too that he's got. So I was interested in that, looking at that. And when he said 2040 and 2046 were quite significant, and it's all about the Phoenix event. What really, I mean, I've been doing 16 years of study on everything down every rabbit hole, but it sort of made me go, oh, hang on a minute, my son is Phoenix. And I worked out, well, he's 27 in 2040 and he's 33 in 2046. And I was like, oh, shit, that's kind of a synchronicity going on there. So it made me look a little deeper into the chronology and timelines and things. But and I just sort of remembered about, I was looking into, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yep. So I
Yep.
just wondered if there was like over in England and Ireland and Wales and all the places around the world, the straight lines, they've got the churches or a stone circle and many, many sites along a straight line. I thought, I wonder if Australia's got any of those. And looking at Sugarloaf, it's, I can send you some photos you might want to edit in later, but she's really pointy, really conical looking, and she stands out quite significantly. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll go from, I don't even know why I thought this, but I'll go from the island of Barungaba or Montague, and I'll draw a line up to Parliament House.
Oops. Looks like that one's going to drop him out.
That's all right. We'll bring him back in.
Yeah, he'll come back in.
Yeah. Oh wow. So isn't that interesting about Robbie Burns, Nikki? I didn't know that story with Dane, but again, I shared with you the connection with the Shrine and Washington DC and how I uncovered that information. So that's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot. There's like, even just, I think you were just sort of starting to mention about the, I was just driving, I don't know whether it was a couple of days into having chats back and forth with Dane over, just the Olympics. And okay, it just kept going in my head. Well, because of the obviously opening, the start of it happening, it was just playing. I didn't even listen to the radio or the news much at all, ever. But just this constant, Australia's going for gold, going for gold, going for gold. And of course, then Dane even mentioned, it's AU, gold on the periodic table, it's AU. So that reference to Australia again. But then you're just sort of going, well, okay, gold being attached to the sun, silver being attached to the moon. Then like, oh, there's bronze. See, gold, silver, and bronze. What's the bronze connected to? It's got to be, is it connected to fire? Which I didn't actually know. I'm thinking there must be some connection to it. And yeah, of course, when I went and looked it up, I'm like, what's, bronze and fire? And of course, it's the Bronze Age. And it was all about forgery and like, of course. So here we are. And then you've got the shrine. So the shrine's got the connection to the sun, connection to the moon with the goddesses. And then you've got all the statues. So with the actual war memorial ones are all bronze. The eternal flames made out of bronze. So it's just, he's like, it's interesting.
And the domed roof of the War Memorial here in Canberra also.
Yeah.
Again, representing the womb, you know, of the feminine. Sorry, I just unmute. Just unmute Dane.
Quick little just a little wrap up on that one. You guys hear me right now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I drew the line, and I thought, hopefully it goes close to Sugarloaf, and let's have a look. So anyway, not only was it close, it was straight over the top of it, straight over the top, all the way to Canberra. But I wasn't looking for any 144s, and I looked down at the measurement, and it said 144,000 meters. So I fell out of the car and went, "You got to be joking." That's significant, as we know, with the Great Pyramid covered in 144,000 casing stones, and it's in the Bible. My first girlfriend was a Jehovah's Witness, so their whole thing was 144,000 people saved. So I knew about that number as a young kid anyway, and then I knew later on in life about the pyramids being covered in 144,000. So I'm like, shit, they've done this 144 from Barungaba, and Barungaba's got the big eye. As the Aboriginal lady here said, it's funny because actually out there is two huge phallic rocks on the island, and at the top of Gooliga, connected to the underneath the ocean with lava tubes, it's the umbilical cord, as they say in the Yuin country. So I had all this stuff in my mind about how things are connected with the Yuin people and their mythical stories and the Bible stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, this was obviously deliberately placed. When you look at the Parliament House, there's a surveyor's hut just on the other side of the glass pyramid, and it says surveyor's hut. You can see it on the map. Comes straight up on our Google Maps. So I just was thinking, okay, that's really what got me started on the looking for, as you see in my videos, you see the lines I start drawing everywhere and realizing, wow, okay, Stephanie McPeak Peterson in America goes, Dane, look at the Mies. And I've been learning about the Mies from her. Again, Freemasonry. Your first degree is a bricklayer. My father and all the way back are bricklayers, stonemasons. And always always granite, always that, that's their whole life. I've been going to funerals and weddings with my father, and Mum's nudging the old man going, "Jock," because he's not even paying attention. He's looking at the granite. So granite's been infused in my body forever. Granite, granite, granite. I'm obsessed with granite. And so these lines I've drawn, she said, "Look at the Mies." Stephanie said, "Look at the Mies." And I've looked, I thought, I'll have a look at 72 kilometers being the Mies. And I found the big hole. You'll see that in the videos I made, this gigantic 100-meter deep, 50 meters across, giant big hole. So there we go, right? We've got this 144, and at the Mies point, this giant hole. So all these things were starting to click real fast. Then I watched Nikki's video with Dale and about the shrine. And I thought, and she's talking about the embryo, it was called the embryo. And in its developing stages, in the plans for it or something, embryo. I'm thinking embryo. Hang on a minute, Gulaga and Barungaba and the umbilical cord, that's an embryo thing. And I already knew the island was involved in this Parliament House alignment. I thought, okay, let's draw another little line. And I went from the shrine straight to the lighthouse, and it went. Then I looked at the ground, the grounds of the shrine, and they've got that cross there. It's all the video I made, and it just perfectly. Oh, I might have lost you. No. So yeah, it was perfect. Again, the alignment was perfect. So I'm thinking, all right, and the shrine's on 144 degrees, which I don't think anyone had picked up on as far as Nikki's work and even others that are looking at the shrine. I'd never seen anyone say it's sitting on 144 degrees. So I was thinking, okay, I seem to be finding my job, almost my role, is this 144 thing, which is not surprising when you find out about my own story. I've got my name equals 144 twice. Dane equals 144 in the gematria, and then Dane Abraham Quirk also equals 144. So I thought, that's maybe why I'm finding all these 144s, and that's part of my little puzzle piece. So yeah, I'll sort of finish up there, but a lot of 144s, Nazca lines are all sitting on 144 degree latitude or longitude as well. There's 144s all over the planet. I've been looking at even the other dome, the Parthenon in Rome. That's the biggest unreinforced concrete dome on the whole planet. They have no idea how it was done still to this day. They cannot make another one. Incredible. The light comes through just like the shrine on one day. I think it's in April or April it is, on the 20, whatever it is, and it hits the front door. The light hits the front door of the Parthenon. So Nikki just told me the other day, sent me a message about when the light hits the stone in the shrine, it doesn't hit the L, it's just OVP. And in the Norse, that's the egg and a male child and all this stuff. And I was like, no way. So it's, it seems these guilds and these Masonic groups have been doing a lot of work. And like Ryan Seven said to me in our interview, Australia was a fresh slate because there was nothing here besides the Aboriginal people doing their 40,000 years of, they haven't been building huge temples, but it was just a clean slate. They could come in and really, they don't have to burn down London, to build their new 1 square mile London, right? They didn't have to do any of that. They could just start afresh. But they knew it was here for a long time. We could go into that another time, but they knew Australia was here. It was never lost. It was never unknown. It was, again, yeah. This place is very special and unique, Australia. And it's like Nikki's been finding out. This place, it starts here and it finishes here. The whole prophecy thing of the Bible and all the other Abrahamic faiths as well, and the Vedic, doesn't matter which culture you look at, they all point to this prophetic and prophecy. I'm seeing more and more this week is prophecy gets confused, I think, and I've confused it with the same sort of what would you say, superstitious sort of stuff. Is it just a plan that they follow instead of it being prophecy? Well, kind of, but at the same time, what we speak, we create. And and what we etch in stone as well is then manifest. So when we look at the most ancient, let's look at the first men, almost you could call it, like the first age of man. They understood these principles more than we understand. And in my new videos coming up, that's really going to be proven without any shadow of a doubt, that they completely set something into motion with intention, and with their speaking, and with even pictographs on caves. All of it set something into motion in the spiritual world, and that we reincarnate or incarnate as roles. All the world is a stage, and it truly is. Like my stuff with the Chili Peppers and everything, they always was dropping stuff to me all the time. Like, it's a comedy, Dane, and it's like, the grand comedy. They were dropping lines about it, sort of, like it's all the world is a stage. My law research, I'll sort of pull up here, but my law research shows that a person is a persona. And they used to, in the amphitheaters, they put half a mask on, like the Phantom of the Opera type of mask. And you could hear them up the very back row at these amphitheaters. You could drop a pin, you could hear them because of the geometry it's used, and it's very well designed. But yeah, personas and persons and all these words that we use constantly, but they're not accidents. Yeah, they're very much a lineage, a continuous lineage that goes through. And they knew that these things were going to come to pass. They cannot change above. They cannot change when the Saturn and Jupiter alignment happens. They can't change when full moons occur. They can't change anything up there, but they can reflect it here. And that's exactly what they've been doing for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, bro. Two things come to mind. The first is recently on Sky to Earth conference with Dale and Madeline Doherty, we had Clint Richardson on, and he was explaining about how in the original King James version of the Bible, right, the core point of the Bible being a metaphorical book, and that if you can actually tap into the original Bible, and he was saying that all other Bibles, right, are just versions of the same thing with different distortions and whatever. But if you tap into the true metaphorical meaning of the Bible, what you actually discover is that it's actually talking about things we can see. So the sun rising, resurrection every morning, the Most High at noon, right?
Yep.
And then sunset, Egyptian god Set. The sun sets. And there's the whole Jack and Jill thing where Jack and Jill go up the hill. So the sun's coming up through its astrological arc, right, to fetch a pail of water in the constellation Aquarius. And then Jack falls down, loses his crown. Down go the sun rays at the end of the day. And Jill comes tumbling after, Jill being the moon. Now, all of this is just so interesting. And then when he was explaining how they've actually, what they've done, like when we look, a lot of us are looking into all this information now about like what is law, what is man-made law, and what is God's law, if you like, or natural law, right? And he's saying how that they've actually hijacked that. And the thing is that the core of the book of the King James Bible is that this presence that came to earth, whether he was a man, I think he was, but he had this Christ consciousness streaming through, trying to remind us of what's possible for us. And his number one thing was word made flesh. And this is what Clint was explaining about word made flesh. In other words, the word is creational.
In the beginning,
right
in the word.
In the beginning was the word, and word becomes flesh. In other words, physical manifestation. And it all just ties in so beautifully. But the other thing I was thinking too, Nikki, the other memory I was having, isn't it interesting that during the lockdowns, that the protesters decided to go to the shrine, right? And then of all places on the planet, here in Australia, because I know that a lot of people in North America were going, what the bloody hell's going on down there in Australia when you've got your own so-called police force shooting bullets at your own people? Like, you guys in a civil war, what's going on, right? And that, I just think it's so significant that actually took place
Yeah.
You know, during the lockdowns, it was almost like confirmation. This place here is like super, for those that know, is super, powerful, super special. And we'll use whatever international forces we can use to protect it, because it's a big player in what's playing out. I mean, how did you feel about that?
Oh, definitely. In fact, just watching that Jason Bashir's the Olympic opening ceremony. The 2012 one. He actually mentioned again how the flow on of Paris Olympics this year. You know, you can predict that that's going to have some big fallout. You can see all the staging around the world and all the assets being planned for what will unfold post the Olympics. And he said, so we're going to end up with a red October or what have you, or he goes a month or two after the Olympics is probably when something most likely is going to start unfolding around the world. And I said to Dale that I just quickly put the message, because I know he was watching it at the same time, that, by the way, shout out to Dale, who's still loving life in Thailand. So he was at the gym, so we weren't going to bother getting him on here for this one. But he had made mention that about the reference of what happened at the shrine. I said, well, the last 2 years, something in September has happened at the shrine. So you're tipping that this year in September, something's going to happen in front of that building again. And he checked the dates, and it was on the equinox as well. It happened on the 22nd of September, the actual protest that got attacked. So it's holding true to this time frame, and also just post the Olympics of this year, so still following that 4-year cycle that they do, but then they seem to have a small event in between at each 12 months sort of time frame as well. So it's interesting. Yeah, there's something. I think something definitely will happen there again in September.
And also, Nikki, also you told me the other night about the Now or Never festival is actually again this
August.
year, September, between August and September, and it goes up to, I'm not sure if it finishes at the equinox, but there's 9 days after that it actually hits the Parthenon date, where they built the Parthenon, and it's to commemorate the Rome, the building of Rome, or the beginning of the Roman Empire type thing. So it's all very this story is a global story.
Yeah, definitely. And I said even this year, and because I haven't been watching the shrine for years, I've only been paying attention to it for 18 months, of course. So I've been following the shrine page, and I did mention I just got an alert. I've been following the shrine's Facebook page since January, and I just got an alert I think this week, that they've started a podcast. The Shrine of Remembrance have started a podcast, right? Is that weird to anyone else? But they started it in January, and I only got notified about it this week. So I jumped on to have a look, and of course they've got the 2 I had to watch. One was just talking about the roof. So to me, it's complete damage control, because they're talking about, it was changed just because we've got water damage and whatever. I'm like, yeah, right. You've gone and put copper over granite. And then you looked at Rachel Vaughan's videos, and she said anything that's had copper added to it, it's a highly, highly conductive element. So you're really amplifying whatever you're trying to do by adding copper to the mix. And there was another one on the ball window, which the story, they just sound ridiculous. And even the stories they're talking about, they're like, oh, well, no one really knows. So I'm presuming that, or that's the connotation of the whole videos is, so my guess is, or I presume this, there's no actual fact. It's just, they're throwing out, I think it's just full damage control. But, I can't remember. This year. So following the Facebook page, they had a huge Greek Orthodox Easter celebration at the front of the shrine. Now, what on earth has Easter got to do, in theory, with a war memorial? They had a massive Greek Orthodox big celebration at the front entrance of the shrine. That's a bit weird. It's got nothing to do with Easter. Very strange.
It's so interesting, isn't it? And also, it was Halicarnassus, by the way, the Temple of Halicarnassus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's Turkey. The one in Turkey. It's Turkey, isn't it? It's Turkey?
I thought it was Italy. I'll double check.
Yeah. Well, I know it was based on the Parthenon, the one in Athens, and the mausoleum of Halicarnassus. Yeah. They were the 2. But then the light is the light on top. I think is it Alisicrites, or I think that's how it's pronounced, something like that. But again, that's a really ancient Greek, the Athens Lysocarites. And that, when I can't even remember what I was listening to now, but just, it was only in the last week or two. Oh, Jason from Decode Your Reality, he did a video on the Ra, the sun god, and he made mention of, in the morning, the dawning in the morning and that sort of thing. And then they're like the dawn service, the morning service for the Anzacs is the only time they light that. They turn that light on. And he made some comment about that video of the Ra, the sun god, and the morning and the dawn. And I'm like, they did the dawn service. It's the morning memorial, and that's the only time they turn that light on. But, okay.
See, again, giving us so many clues. Like, so with the Olympics, right? So the Olympic torch, which has a 2-week journey to when they finally light the flame, right? And last night I saw a couple of pictures. They had like a hooded. There was a couple of characters, and one of the characters was that lone horseman going across the Seine, right, in their opening ceremony ritual. But then there was this hooded guy with a torch, and everyone's like, what's with that guy? And there was no, the media were given no information about this character as part of the show, so to speak, right? And then they're lighting this flame, which is representing fire and the sun, right? And all of that. So, and then Olympics comes from Greek mythology. It's these gods. And I mean, I know you really dived into this, Dane, when you're talking about the mountain ash and how everything's about how we are doing alchemy all the time. And it's just that, like, these clues that they're leaving us, like when you said, Nikki, at the shrine, they removed, what did they remove? They removed all the water.
Yeah, the reflection pool and the fountains. Yeah.
And they brought in the flame, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, to the average person, it's just like, there's all this stuff hidden in plain sight. But what's really going on here? Like, how is it that this shrine in Melbourne seems to be fractalizing some fall of Babylon time that we're in, that's actually depicting everything, but it's been there for so long, and it's like now we're only just starting to understand what it's actually representing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as we've always heard, as above, so below. And it's this is the truth. All they're doing, it's not very complicated, really. I mean, it can get convoluted, but it really is based on the most simple observations in life. The sun comes up on the horizon, the Horus, and when it's at Ra, it's at its highest point in the sky. That's Ra. Then it goes over down to the Set, and Set, of course, killed us. So these things are just stories written into. They're just following. The stories are only to describe what's going on above us. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Now, when it comes to our own stories and roles on this stage, again, that's above, and we are from above, and it's a reflection on down here. So us meeting each other, same thing, no accidents. That was always written in the stars. It's a synchronistic because it's like Carl Jung sort of goes into, it's cause and effect. And you can look at, Carl Jung's comments on synchronicity as well. I'm sure people know who he is. But the most ancient order on the Quetzalcoatl. Oh, have I lost you?
No, you're good. No, you were good.
Might have lost you now. I know, there you are.
He's back.
News coming for the entire world. And I'll be dropping it very soon. I've got to do it really, pay it the closest attention and care and honor with this, because it's gigantic. I've shared it with Nikki, and it's massive stuff. I mean, they've already done these pyramids that are insane. They've already lined it up to the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. These scientists went there in 2010, set up all their equipment, and found, you can go on the Archivist channel and find that. It's called the, actually, Donovan, you posted on your Facebook, I think, that video. So about the the birth of the Messiah and the whatever it was called, that one. You can find it on his channel. But basically, they built these gigantic pyramids: Quetzalcoatl Pyramid, Pyramid of the Moon, Pyramid of the Sun, and the whole plaza, little satellite pyramids. Halfway down, you've got the mural of the cougar, and it's got 7 circles and 13 stripes at the mural. All these things that they've done there. Right? Now we go there as tourists, take photos, and go, "Wow, it's amazing! Look what they've done." But I found something there that's we could say lots will, or looking glass, or they had some sort of technology. Others will say aliens or whatever, right? Because it's too much for us to comprehend of how they could do all this. I mean, the pyramids, we can't even rebuild them today. So, I mean, that's one thing that we couldn't even redo. But there's many, many, many things already there that we could never redo, even with technology. So clearly there was a golden age going down, and they had, we could lift 70-ton stones like it was a feather. So they did something else, which I can't sort of say here today. It's really going to be a crescendo. It's at the end of the crescendo, really. But it's we know about the Abrahamic faiths. All of them go to Mecca, right? The Quranic guys, the Islamic dudes. The Jews wear the cube on their forehead. It's all Saturn. All of it is Saturn, right? Everyone goes on about Saturn 666, evil, evil, bad, evil. None of it is evil. None of it is what we thought it was. There is this thing that I've found there at this Quetzalcoatl place in New Mexico. When you see it, when it comes up in a week or so, exactly when the very last end of the golden age, right? Makes me think of now or never. So the golden age coming back again is why we're getting shitloads of downloads flat out, like constant, like in our dreams. I woke up the other night about the Eden, for example, and it's the on the Nazca lines, they've got the orca, a monkey, spider. Of course, we know about the Garden of Eden, but why did they call this place Eden? This orca down there at the museum used to go out in the 1800s, early 1900s.
Frozen.
Oh,
Nope.
nope. That's so interesting. So what he's saying too, again, comes back to the Yugas,
Yeah.
Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Iron Age.
Yeah.
And I learned this in Raja Yoga when I was studying it as a 14-year-old. They spoke about the Yugas. And then you have the last little bit is the confluence age, which is the change, which could easily represent a reset, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're ringing the bells of the reset. The time has come. And this is, sorry, Dane, you just dropped out. Keep going, bro.
Yeah, no dramas. So yeah, Eden, basically it's like, we know about Jonah in the whale. We're all talking about prophecy here. We're talking about the Bible. We're talking about all the different texts on papyrus, and Francis Bacon, Edward de Vere, John Dee, they wrote the King James Bible. They introduced 16,000 new words into the English language. These guys were the highest learned men on the planet in the 1600s, 1500s. And they were, again, continuing on the veneration tradition of bringing all of this knowledge and continuing to preserve it for the future generations. Because, as we saw this year with our first interview, there was a 6-planet alignment with a new moon moving through the Silver Gate of Taurus at the exact second Dale pressed record. Right now, that was on my birthday. It was the 6th of June over in the Northern Hemisphere, 8 o'clock at night, when the Silver Gate and the whole 6 planets. But it was 10 o'clock in the morning here on the 7th. My birthday and a day we decided to have an interview. No coincidences, as we know, right? Synchronicity again, and again. So finishing off with Eden, a guy was swallowed by the whale. They didn't even know that there was a guy inside the whale. They cut open the whale doing their thing. A leg falls out. They pull him out. He's bleached. He's lost his eyesight, but he lived. So, right, the thing about Jonah and the whale. This is Jonah and the whale. Now, they've called it Eden. It's the Garden of Eden. I mean, come on, think about all these things thousands ago written about, and they're happening well into the future. It was like early 1900s. This guy gets swallowed by the whale. He lives. And also, then when I woke up, had that dream, I stuck my hand out, grabbed my phone, messaged Stephanie in America, "You've got to be joking. Listen to this." I told her I remembered the museum and the whole story of the old Tom helping him get the whale, and this guy gets swallowed by the whale, and the Nazca lines. Oh, you there?
Yep.
Yep,
Keep going.
it's on 144 degrees. The Nazca lines. So the Nazca lines are like another prophetic showing us there's going to be a guy swallowed by a whale in Eden. You know what I'm saying? So we can actually look at these things carved into the ground over in Nazca on 144 to actually see that they knew that this guy would be swallowed by a whale and live. This thing that I found at Quetzalcoatl pyramids in the whole complex, they knew the exact date because I'm so familiar, more than most even astrologers. They always get it wrong, and I think, how are they stuffing this up? It's an easy search, you can find it. But in 1941, I won't go through the whole thing of Saturn, the cycles, because there's a few different cycles within Saturn and Jupiter. But one of them is when you get a triple, which is 3 separate conjunctions within 7 months. It's that doesn't happen for 300 years. They come in 300-year lots, those triples. But you get a 40-year gap, 40 years in the desert. Moses, 40 years in the desert. So you get a 1941, you get a triple. 40 years later, you get another triple. Then we don't have another one until 2238. Right? It's the next triple. So 1941 and 1981, and then nothing till 2238. So this was all known by the people that built the Quetzalcoatl pyramids in Mexico. I know that's what's coming in the video. The proof that they knew full well when the end of the Bronze Age would end, and then 81, which is 41, the end of the Bronze Age. 81 is the beginning of the Golden Age, which is the age of air. It's Aquarius, because everyone argues still. You can look at all these channels around the planet, and they're all still saying it doesn't happen yet. We're not in the age of Aquarius. Yes, we are, people. What's the name of Saturn? Kronos. Now, where do we get the word chronology from? He's the what? He's the master of time. So wouldn't it be logical to understand if we watch Saturn and the rising of the sun in the constellation of Aquarius, you can correlate those two things: Saturn chronology, the man of time, master of the god of time. It would happen in 1981 because it happened in an air sign, and it happened in Libra. Now, when Saturn is in Libra, that's his house, his home, baby, and it's like all the power comes through. So we're going to get now another triple. Kepler, if you look up Kepler, and even Walter Russell, right? The music of the spheres, that does a triune. So we've all heard about the Seal of Solomon, or the Star of David, as it's called, right? We all know, one thinks it's evil, and the Jews and all this. Guess what shape that Saturn and Jupiter conjunctions make above our heads? They go up, down, across, down, up, across. They make the Seal of Solomon. That's where they get the whole Seal of Solomon, Star of David from. Saturn and Jupiter, once again. Okay, that's like they go on about. I've never seen the pole of Saturn. I don't know if I believe NASA and that crazy thing on the pole. Maybe it's there. I don't have a good enough telescope. But regardless, the Seal of Solomon and the Star of David is made by the triune. And you can look up Kepler. He's the one that did this whole book about it. That's where we get these things. So they're just all the stories from Bible to Quran to the Zohar to the everything from the Vedic. They're getting all the stories from up there. They create characters and people are incarnated and bring wisdom and all sorts of. They play their role. Tesla played his role. Jesus played his role. We're all playing our roles. So I'll pull up there, but all of these things are on accident. I don't think they're. I really don't think they've hijacked it. They can't hijack it. God damn, you know, train, because this thing's happening above, whether they like it or not. They can't change the actual heavens. So if they change things, they're just kind of not reflecting what's going on above. It won't work. There's systems here in this realm that have a function that work, and they know that, and they just have to follow it. Otherwise, it's like pulling that wire, negative into the positive, and it should go the other way. It's not going to work, is it? So they follow it. Even the words, etymology, the 16,000 words they introduced. You can look up how the origins of that word, like whether it's pre this and all, simple things. But basically, everything is followed to the letter.
Oh, I love that. And that's where I feel like this work that Rachel Vaughan's doing with taking, well, she says, taking back the ley lines.
Is that?
Where basically all we got to do is go find the ley lines and use our sound, right? Word made flesh, use our sound, vibrational frequency, energy, right? And we're reactivating this system that's been there the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels like places like the Shrine, Montague Island, Mount Galaga, even Parliament House here in Canberra, right? All being connected. If we activate this ancient system, and it will affect all the way to Quetzalcoatl and to Giza, right? To the pyramids of Giza. We're turning on the system again. And how are we doing it? Through sound.
Just quickly, it reminds me of these. We don't have to what do you call it? What you just said about activating them. They're activated whether we're asleep or awake. They're always activated. But what the difference is the intent. Now, the intent I can prove with the experiments they did scientifically. There was a guy with the polygraph test, one of the very first with polygraphs, and he had someone bought him a cactus for his sterile little laboratory. And he was up late one night, when you're up late at night, you kind of almost get into that weird chemical sort of like trippy sort of state. And he had a weird idea. And he hooked up the polygraph to the cactus. And he thought, I'm going to burn the cactus. That's what I'll do. He did not move. He didn't say anything either. He thought it. The needle on the polygraph went absolutely mental, right? He sat back in his chair and went, what the fuck? Then he was tripping. He was thinking, I'm just up late. What's going on? Because he hadn't spoken, nothing. It was just a thought. Then he tried it again. Like, okay, I'm gonna burn you. The needle moved a little bit. Then he tried it again. Needle didn't move. It knew he was bluffing.
Yeah.
The cactus knew he was bluffing. Now, he did this in front of an audience with yogurt because of the bacteria in yogurt. He had other people had to do it because the yogurt knew he was bluffing. He had too much understanding now of like everything is sentient. So people from the audience would get up, and of course their tent would be, rah, rah, and the needle would go crazy. So the lines are activated, brother, and all the difference is our intent. So that's why they get us to sign up for licenses. That means to be licentious. We're the ones doing the killing over in the wars while they sit in their castles puffing on, whatever. I said that in the other interview with Dale. It's us that's doing all this mad shit to each other. It's not these guys in castles. They put out offers. They're just offers, guys. That's all they are. And we accept the offers. And then we whinge and jump up and down like babies, like children. This is mental. And they laugh at us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's spot on. And actually that was what Rachel was saying, is that the whole point of what she's doing now is, and she has said, take the ley lines back. So yeah, they're always activated, but they've been used and abused in a negative way for what these crazy ones want to do. And same as what you're saying about the 666, the black cube and all that stuff. They have made it seem like it's negative because they use it for that intent. They know the power of it, hence why they use it. Same as the 11s and things like that. They manipulate the things they know where the high power is, and then they tell us that it's negative and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's the intention behind it, and that's what I think that was the point she's made, is and this to me, and I think I said in the last video that we did on the shrine with Dale, was that to me the whole granite was wanting to tell its story, because the granite's being abused on this building and it doesn't want to do what it's got to do. So, it's a natural element that we're connected to, and it is being used as a portal. It's being used. So in the video that Jason's just done today on the 2012 opening ceremony, he said that reset bell is this homage that we're trying to bring up, this Apollyon rebirth him, I suppose, in some capacity from underneath. And they will use it through a portal. That's how they'll do it. That's what they're trying to do. And that's like, wow, that would explain why we've said that building was, you can tell it's a portal. There's no other logic behind putting that copper on the roof. And it's like they're trying to either draw something up or something down or a bit of both or whatever. We knew it was a portal.
And I love what Dane sort of bringing that together about intention. It's kind of like the infinite system is there, and it's there for you to use, right? So it's like these evil people have gone, well, if you're not going to bloody use it, we'll use it, because we've got the knowledge, we know how to use it. That's kind of what you're saying, isn't it, bro? It's like, look, it's all there. I mean, it's all at your fingertips. But if you're not willing to use it, why are you whinging?
Well, we all live upon them. Right? There's 25 million people in Australia. We live upon these things. And what are we doing? We're watching porn. We're cutting each other off in traffic and going mental. Whatever we're doing, right? Screaming at the missus. Whatever we're doing, right? We haven't done the inner work. Now, the reflection. Well, we haven't done the reflection. We keep pointing outside of ourselves. The simplicity of all of this will blow people's minds and make them angry too. They'll probably want to hang me on at Golgotha, because it's all of you guys. It's the 6 billion twats on the earth acting like babies and blaming the elite. The elite have nothing, very, very, very little to do with anything. Say the shrines on 144 in Melbourne, all the people in Melbourne down there are going to the footy, and and the polar, all that energy goes into the granite, into the water, all the way out to Pine Gap to the all through the telluric ground currents. If you were talking about bells, and it's the bells underground, well, the bells actually, when you can do, there's other studies, but again, it'll go forever. But it basically, that vibration actually helps the gold come to the surface as well. Gum trees, giant gum trees. Look around a giant gum tree, gold will be there. That's how the old timers used, because actually they'd always find a lot of gold around them. There's a lot of stuff that we got to research.
You see that glitching out there?
Yeah.
I noticed that. But the inner work, I'll just have one more time for the audience. The inner work is the reflection pool, right? You are made up of water, mostly water.
Yep.
The reflection pool is us. They don't need one at the shrine, because it's us. We have to do the reflecting, and point the freaking finger at numero uno, at Neo.
Yeah. Which is probably why they got rid of it. This is why they have to reverse and invert and tell the opposite of everything. So, and they have to keep the fear mongering going, because if, like we said, if the news turned off tomorrow worldwide, very quickly people would start to not be so angry. Just shutting it off. That's why they have to do it every day, and they've got to it's got to be constant into people's faces. Because if you turned all that crap off, it would very quickly change, because you're naturally not drawn that way. That's why they have to control you this way, and then lie about everything, reverse it, invert it, upside down it, everything, because we would work it out pretty quickly when you weren't being so drummed into, no, it's bad and it's this, and you're an evil, horrible person. Yeah.
Because if you also weren't being bombarded with the frequency of all that illusion and
reminds
deception,
me of when there's a big flood in Lismore or something.
Yeah, you're naturally drawn back to self.
Yes.
Right? And then you become connected to the land again.
Yep.
And the sky and everything, right?
And you won't be angry anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and your natural infiniteness, which exists waiting for you to remember, it will be just naturally coming forward.
Yep.
Through the process of not, as Dane said, focusing outwardly, but reflecting. So this is why they have the reflection pool. Same at the War Memorial in Canberra. They've got the long reflection pool, right, leading up to the unknown soldier. Who's the unknown soldier? It's freaking you. You're the unknown soldier. You know what I mean? So in some ways, we've got to look at this shit and go, thank you. You're showing us, you know. This is where I love having come into contact with you, Dane, because you've reminded me to remember to look at it from that perspective and just go, you know, it's as soon as you're in blaming, you're out of empowerment. You're out of your infiniteness. You're out of your power, all that you are. So anyway, guys, I've been going for a while. I looked at the clock. I saw 2:22 just before.
Yes.
So, thanks so much. Sorry for the glitchiness and all the rest, but I really want to continue this conversation. Each time it feels good and some more comes up, you know. But I think this has been a good little follow-on from right from the beginning when you started with Dale, Nikki. I think it's really evolving. It's an evolving thing, you know.
Oh, it is. Yeah, and look, the coolest thing is in a shout out because there's a lot of people that send me stuff, and that one just recently, it was from the information we've been talking about this week is from MJ. So I don't know who MJ is. That person chatting in Dale's Telegram chat and just asked to reach out because they found some things interesting about the shrine and where it's pointing and what they think. So yeah, it's cool. I do love what this building has awoken in all sorts of people. I just, for whatever reason, it jumped out at me straight away. I'm just knew I had to put stuff out there, and what it's woken and other people are realizing and finding, and you know, that's all of us coming together. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, closing remarks, Dane.
If you see a Masonic person, go up and shake their hand, give them a cuddle, and thank them, and go against feel any resistance within your own body. Well, just remember that resistance is measured in ohms. Ohms. So, you know, I always face my resistance. Yeah, because if I feel resistance, I think, hang on a minute, why am I resisting this? So that's, I'll close with that, I think, because resistance is showing us things constantly. And it's quite interesting when we think, no, you know, had a few comments on Dale's thing, you know, he said Henry Kissinger and thing, and we got to love him. And, he must be you know what I mean? I get that. Don't worry, I get that. But try and turn it around, guys. We can actually flip, as Dale likes to put it, flip this back the other way. We can turn anything into a positive, you know. Someone said I was arrogant on that thing. I said, thank you. You know, I can see that I can come across that way, and I'll try and do better next time. She came back and saw my interview with Michelle Gibson, and she came back to fix her comment, saw that I'd said thank you, and was like, I'm just so sorry. And I turned the lead into gold like an alchemist, because we can all do that. We can all turn this lead into gold. We can really see that these can be positive. Yeah, the Phoenix event, we can turn it into a positive. All is mind, as Herbie said. The world's a stage. It's on us. We've got the power, guys. All of us together have the power to change whatever we want. Yeah. Anyway, that's all. That's it.
Oh, beautifully said, brother. Beautifully said. Yeah, the alchemy, right?
Yeah.
It's so simple. It is so simple. It really is. Alchemy is taking that resistance, and someone presents you with something, and what do you do? Rather than go into fight or flight with them and have your autonomic response, emotional response, which has been programmed in you, rather than do that, alchemize it and take back that power where you go, right, I can respond rather than react, you know, and it's all there. And that's the alchemy right there. You know, it's so simple. Starts with self.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys. And
thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for witnessing this first very, very glitchy episode 1 of the Synchronicity show. Hopefully by the next one I'll have some shit sorted. But and maybe next time we come on, we might have MJ on with us and a couple of other people. We might have a bit of a round table.
We're going to have Dale back on. Got to bring the guy back on.
Definitely have Dale back in, and maybe Mads as well, because she's got some info that she's been feeding into this as well from her experiences as well. So anyway, everyone, stay curious. Love you and take care.
Yes.
Thanks, mate.